Hey there, another edition of Real Estate Therapy. And I have with me today somebody who I adore, who I've known for a long time. And I'm just so excited that you're my guest, my very special guest today, um, Janet Krahling. And Janet, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and getting to know about your web podcast. I am Janet, and I've been a realtor in San Francisco for over, oh gosh, 35 years. Cynthia, you and I kind of lose count. We've known each other from almost the very beginning in the business.
Mhm.
And we've had a lot of fun together, both socially and professionally. And here we are, still in the business.
Did we what do you remember what year? I think I got my license in 1988.
88 was my year also, but
88.
I don't think we worked together that first year. I
Yeah,
started.
where were you? I
Another
mean,
office down the street on Union Street.
yeah. Well, we had I mean that was a whole different I can't believe how old I am. That was a whole different time. It
Well,
was
in real estate, I can tell you that office that I started at. I mean, I went out of there screaming, but this will tell your audience how long ago that was. The desks were these formica kind of desks were all pushed together. No, no rhyme or reason, just kind of all shoved together in the back room. Everybody had a black phone on their desk and an ashtray. And an ashtray. So that kind of tells you what was going on. And there was no training. There was no, this is what you do. Nothing. It was just like shove you in this bullpen. I gave you, I think, a phone book probably and some 3x5 cards maybe, and then said, go for it. And they just figured, a few of you will make it and we'll take you, and the rest will find your own way, either out or learn. And there was somebody in that office who became a very big agent in our city, but yeah, he was one of the ones that rose to the top. And I remember he used to take the bus to get there. He didn't have a car, so he get there. But I went out of there screaming. I thought this guy is a shyster, and there was inappropriate behavior going on. And I ran out of there, and I drove my car down Union Street, and I double parked. That's another sign that those are things you used to be able to get away with. I double parked in front of every real estate office until I came to where we met each other. And asked, "Are you hiring?" And they'd say, "No, we don't take new agents," or "Yes, come back another day." Until I got to Henry, and he said, "Yeah, come talk to me. I'll hire you." So that's how I ended up there.
that's so funny. I mean, I the ashtray thing is just I mean, I remember at the office where we ended up together, Henry's office.
Hmm.
Um, there was one point soon after that where they decided, okay, we're going to have a smoking section.
Oh my
Like,
God!
remember, part of the office you could smoke in, and part of it, and this wasn't a big
Yeah,
space,
really,
right? Like,
the smoke could work its way over to our side.
and then I also remember this was pre-fax machine,
Yeah.
and I remember making an impassioned speech at the weekly office meeting that we didn't need a fax machine. Why would we ever need one?
Really?
Yes, really.
And in those days, the sheet came out in one big long sheet, and you had to cut it or use like a paper cutter. Cut it. It was like this mealy paper, like yeah,
Yeah.
scraps.
And you'd wait forever. It would take
No,
it
yeah,
forever.
one for the entire office,
Right.
and one computer when we finally got a computer.
Right. It was like, but like that you were at this office where all the desks were shoved together. Um, and kind of bullpen style. I mean, it was like all you needed was a phone and an ashtray.
Ashtray and a phone. That's it. A chair. And that's it.
You didn't even need a car, right?
No, didn't need a car.
Well, I there's been a lot of changes since then. I mean, and one I I really appreciate about you is that we never, even when we were at that office on Union Street, we didn't work together on anything. We were friends,
Mhm.
and but we could share stories with each other and compare and contrast what was going on. And I
Right.
mean, you went on to a different office. I went to a different office. We had different experiences, but we could
Mhm.
always come together and
Share.
there was one person besides my boyfriend slash husband slash ex-husband, um, who I could relate to in a really personal way, and and I
Yes.
could tell you anything,
Right, right.
and
Yes.
and, and which is why you are the person who I wanted to talk about, um, what I call the client crush phenomenon, um, with real estate. And um, it's something that kind of caught me by surprise. The very first transaction I did, which was representing a buyer, um, never mind, he was a gay man in a partnership, um, and so there was no room for any kind of romantic involvement, right?
Okay.
But I was so surprised by the ferocity of my affection for him, like in the most holistic sense. Like I wanted the most amazing property for him. Like I had higher standards, bigger dreams than he ever had.
And you
Right.
wanted to show them property all the time.
Right. And I just, yeah. And so
I don't remember.
I was amazed at how much I cared.
Yeah.
And, then I found later on that there were a lot of times when my caring, even though so I was in a relationship, um, and my caring would start, and maybe there were parts of that relationship that weren't entirely satisfying, I mean, I'd been with this person for a long time, and so in my private moments, I could kind of drift into dreaming about, well, what would it be like if I was making a life with this person or that person? And I remember I had a client who, um, he, he, I don't even know what he did for a living. That I can't remember, and I don't think I ever asked. I just know that he had enough money to buy the most expensive condo I'd ever sold.
Oh,
And he showed me, when he moved in, he invited me over and he showed me his tie portfolio.
ooh.
Like that was a thing back then.
Neckties?
Neckties, yeah. Here's my tie portfolio. And isn't
Wow.
this amazing? This closet, I have my
Uh-huh.
ties here. He, he asked me to be his date for some function that he had to go to
Oh,
because he didn't have a girlfriend.
uh-huh.
And I was so excited to pose as his girlfriend
Uh-huh.
and get all dressed up.
Oh,
And he
this.
didn't want me to tell anyone that I was his realtor.
Oh,
And so I don't know how to define that, but I went along with it. It was kind of fun.
well, there is something about our business where you're sort of intimately involved with somebody. Um, you know a lot about them. In the old days, you spent probably more time with them in the car, showing them property and counseling them. You got involved with them, and then you get to turn them in when they buy, and you get some money for it, and then you get a new one, and then that's
Right.
fun too. So it's kind of fun that way. Well, as a matter of fact, before I got into real estate, when it was just a dream, I mean, not a dream, it wasn't anything I ever thought I would do. I was buying a little condo with a girlfriend, and we were, cutting everything down the middle. We were going to look for this condominium, and I said, if we're going to pick a realtor, let's pick the single guy, the best looking single guy realtor. We thought maybe I'd seen it on TV or something that you get to ride around in the car with them, spend a bunch of time with them, and then you get to maybe have lunch.
Hmm.
Might take you out to lunch, or I
Right.
don't know, I even thought dinner or drinks, lunch, and then we go through that. We might as well spend it. We're going to spend our time with somebody. It might as well be we were both single, and that happened. But we found the condo on the first day. We didn't get lunch. We didn't get. I remember we didn't get a washer and dryer that we thought we were promised. We didn't get office, and he was pretty cute, but that was about it. That was the end of our romance.
He got a commission.
He got a commission, and he was done. And
Right.
then I remember my dad called him up and said, "You implied you were giving a washer and dryer, so you are giving a washer and dryer," and he did.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, that was sort of our fantasy date.
Your fantasy date. Your story just reminded me of a client I had who never bought anything, because, in fact, he had no intention of buying anything. I was really slow on the uptake, but um, I showed him a couple properties, and he was married. He was married. I showed him a couple properties, and he was in the writing business somehow. And he said, and I had a background as a writer.
Mhm.
He said, I'm going to write out for you my fantasy about this condo that we're going to go look at. And this was in the days before faxes, right? So he like handed it to me, and it was not appropriate.
He handed what to you?
His fantasy, he wrote it
Oh,
out, his fantasy, which involved things that I don't think any realtor ever does, uh,
uh-huh,
in a property.
uh-huh.
And I remember that was it. I didn't talk to him again after that because he wasn't interested in working
Uh,
with me as a real estate
yeah,
agent.
yeah,
I've blocked that out.
yeah, yeah.
I've blocked that out of my memory.
Thinking of other things as you talk. I'm thinking of other situations where one time I liked this young man, but he was a client, and then I remember he sat on the bed, and somehow I sat next to him very innocently, and he reached over and kissed me, and I was like, "What? I thought I was your realtor." And yeah, that blew me away, and it didn't, nothing happened, but there's this fine line, and you're in the bedrooms with them, and it's kind of provocative in some ways.
Yeah, I used to say I often find myself alone in bedrooms with strange men.
Right,
Yeah, you know,
right.
and then also hearing about things like their bathroom needs. It's very intimate.
Yeah, or what they wear when they wake up in the morning and how much privacy they need. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Or I remember one bachelor who I was working for. Um, it was like I was on the inside track of all of his scheming about, you know, basically how he was going to get laid in his new condo. Like it
Ooh,
was located kind of
yeah.
near the Bermuda Triangle, which is, as you know, a famous kind of pickup spot for
Mhm,
drunken young people down in
mhm,
Cow Hollow
mhm.
in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It was within a 2 block uh, walking distance of,
Oh,
of the Bermuda Triangle. And he had this great kind of sexy setup.
yeah, and he was telling you about it. He
Yeah.
was strategizing. Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
thought, well, that's kind of cool. Um, but, I didn't, I was a little older than him. I didn't think of it in terms of what it would be like for his victims. right?
Right.
And but I think, it's so intimate, and I definitely I developed crushes on a few of my clients, like where I was really, really interested in their lives. If I'd been single, I think I might have pushed it a little
Mhm.
bit, and
Mhm.
and I think it came out of just all that time together in the car, on the phone late at night,
Mhm.
um, just fantasizing about what it would be like to live in these different places.
Mhm.
And after a while, that plus the fiduciary obligation to act on their behalf as if they're the only thing that matters would turn
Mhm.
into, um, I would never have told my boyfriend this was going on, but I would be having these kind of this alternative life in my mind,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Well, as you know, I dated more realtors than I did clients.
That
I was available, but
Yeah, yeah, you were available, and actually, that's another thing is the other agent crush,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, and it wasn't like what you said before. You have so much in common, this inner experience, dialogue experience, and so there's a bonding thing there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, um, but the other realtors, I mean, it is easy to relate to other realtors because they know what you're going through,
Yes. Mhm.
and then we would have these great parties.
Oh, right. And back in the 80s and 90s, those were the social scenes, I think, of the city. Maybe it was just our circle, but it seemed like there were lots and lots of parties
Oh yeah,
each week.
yeah. I mean, that's what we did. I would work all day long and then go to a party
Hmm. On Thursday nights.
Thursday night. Yeah,
Mhm.
because we had to work on Saturdays and Sundays. You couldn't be hung over on Saturday, so Friday night was harder
Mhm.
to go to a party. Don't you think? I think that nobody loves you like your real estate agent. Nobody.
Yeah, that's right. Hmm. Very well, let's see, how do I want to word this? But we accept your flaws. Um, we know you, we know how to draw you out. And look, I'm thinking of some clients that I just didn't like, but you sort of learn to love. I can remember a particular agent, very experienced agent, very prim and proper, and she gave a talk one time in my company, and she said, "You have to love something about your client, even if it's the shape of their little tiny fingernail. You have to find something you like about them." Because you have to get along. You have to get along. You're advocates, or you're an advocate for them, and you have to know and understand them. How do you mean it?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I think that it's our job. It's our job, like the meaning of fiduciary being to act as if you were them on their behalf.
Hmm.
Um, I think, I'm really concerned with my clients' progress. I don't want them to make a mistake. I
Hmm.
don't want them to buy the wrong thing, you know?
Right,
Um, they can call me pretty much anytime. We do house calls, right?
right, right.
We show up. And if, I mean, how many clients have I had who um, sometimes we're the first person they call when things go wrong.
Huh?
I mean, have you had those calls? I've had those calls where somebody's partner left them.
Oh, definitely. Oh, that kind of go wrong. Yeah, yeah. We're definitely on their in their I would call it the wisdom table. I'm one of those people that are at the who they call upon when things
Right,
are not going well in their lives, or especially if it's going to affect what do I do now with this
right.
piece of property.
And I think um, it's I mean, it's more loaded up because a lot of times it has to do with what's going on with the
Mm,
property, and that's a valuable asset, and that's pretty
right.
scary. I mean, sometimes we are the only person kind of holding someone's hand as they plunk down $2 million
Mhm.
on a property that where their parents don't understand it.
Mhm, mhm.
They're a little concerned about whether or not their job is going to last. They're
Right.
maybe they've got some other question about, can I really live without parking? But I
Mhm.
love this view.
Right.
And they have to feel like they can trust us to
Mhm.
be watching out for them,
Yeah.
to say no, you shouldn't proceed without parking.
Uh-huh.
I know you.
Yeah.
You won't make it a day
I know,
without a parking space.
I've said those words. I know you. You're not gonna like this part. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Um, actually, I'm working with somebody right now, and they said to me, "Do you think we're making the right decision buying this house? And do you see us there comfortably for 10 years?" And I have some concerns about the size and the amount of storage, et cetera. And I said to them, well, this is great and that's great, and there's some trade-offs you have to make. However, I think it is a little on the small challenge. The smallness may be challenging to you as your family grows. And they said, they argued with me, but oh, we don't care about the smallness. We don't care about that part. And I sort of felt it made me feel kind of bad, like you asked me, and then you argue with me.
Right.
But at least I got it out there, and I hope I said it in a way that wasn't too, you know, frightened them, made them worry.
Well, that's actually, I mean, that's a technique that I have used to help people get clear, which
Committed.
is to push them away from something and
The
say,
takeaway
hey,
method. The takeaway method.
yeah, is that what you call it?
The takeaway method. Yes, it's a sales technique. You take it away and see how much they want it.
Right. I mean, I just feel like, and usually it's not like it's not a strategy. It's a reality. I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
this is not within walking distance of your kid's school. This
Mm-hmm.
is not a single family home.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a view, but view was not the top thing on your list. So why are you buying it?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
should you be buying this? And then if they come back and say, yeah, but we love the view,
Yeah.
if you do that 3 times, then
Yeah.
maybe this is the right place for them.
Well, plus I think it gives us. They must look at us like they are an advocate for me. They are. They do. They are listening to me. We're not just looking to close the deal and collect a check.
No, I mean, if we do that, it starts to seep out of your pores. People
Mhm.
can smell that on you.
Have you heard somebody calls that commission breath? She has commission breath. Isn't that good?
That's great. Uh, There's probably a lot of people who have commission coffee breath
Mhm.
combo, right?
Yes.
Now, I had a new agent I was working with, trying to help them like learn how to conduct an open house, for example. And I said, okay, imagine I'm a buyer and I walked into your open house. What do you do? And this person said, well, I'll show them around. Here's the kitchen. Here's the living room. I'm like, stop. They can figure that out themselves. You don't have to be the tour guide. What are you doing? You
Right.
know, why are you asking them like a used car salesman question like, are you prepared to write an offer on something today? Right? Didn't they
Right.
tell us that in real estate school?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You know?
Well, my niece is out looking at open houses up in Marin County, and she said to me, Why do they keep asking me these questions like, do I live in the neighborhood?" And I said, "Well, is this the listing agent?" Well, I don't think so. I said, well, they're trying to develop a rapport with you so that you'll want to like them and want to work with them. But
Right.
yeah, they weren't too transparent. But yes, that's better. Those are better conversations, I guess.
Yeah. So I think we tend to become fans of our clients. At least I do. Um, Even if they're sort of, let's say it, even if they're an asshole, I can
Mhm.
be a fan. Like the little pinky finger
Right,
thing that you
right,
said.
right, right.
I can find something redeeming in everyone.
Mhm.
It's enhanced my life, actually. The way that I live
Right.
is that I am much more tolerant of
Uh-huh.
assholes,
Yeah,
I
I think
guess.
we've learned to be compassionate or empathetic. Yeah, with
Yeah.
our clients.
And then I find myself cheering people on,
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
or I mean, maybe this is weird. I was thinking of when I was a new agent, there was a listing that I was helping on. I was not the listing agent, but it was at a time in the market. Uh, Maybe it's the market we're in now, where things were slow,
mhm.
and I was holding this house open every weekend for months.
Mm,
Every weekend, I would be at this house, and it was out in the sunset and a owned by a family, and they were gone. While the open house is while you're in their house showing it, they're not there,
mhm, mhm.
and I got to know everything in their house so intimately, right? Like, honestly. Okay. Like, I knew what cereal they had. I became kind of a fan of the little Tupperware containers that the mom was putting the cereal in. Like, I'm serious. Like, I admired, and
You
she
want
doesn't know this, but
yeah.
I admired her organizational skills
Mhm.
and the way that they were evidenced in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
She might have wanted to know that. I mean, I was appreciative of certain fabrics, or
Mhm.
um, just the way that they left their shoes by the front door.
Right, right.
All these details became really endearing to me,
Mhm.
to the point where, now, mind you, it was a shit house. It was like, it looked like a double wide trailer. It had the most horrible floor plan, and wall to wall carpet. It was very clean and tidy,
Yeah,
but there was nothing, like, the word architecture does not apply.
right, right.
And but I grew to love it. I grew
Mhm.
to love it there. And after a while, when the one visitor to the open house would come in that day and they'd say something negative about it,
You were
I'd be
defensive,
like, get out of here.
right? If you
You
don't
don't
like,
des-
go.
you don't deserve this house.
Right, right. Exactly.
And it
Oh,
goes that did you experience that too? Like, after you'd have a listing, maybe it was overpriced, and after a while you can't see that anymore.
well, I can't just give you one example there, but but I have fell in love with a little family, and they had a. I went to see their condo. They said it was there were. They said we're a family of five, and we have this condominium to sell in such and such a neighborhood. And I assumed, I kind of knew what price range that would be, and that's probably a big condo. And I walked in, and it was a one-bedroom condo. The family is all there, all five of them. Well, it turns out the son lived in the walk-in closet of the one bedroom, and the twin daughters lived in that bedroom in twin beds, and the parents lived out in the living room.
Wow.
Every night, change the living room into a bedroom. Well, you can imagine there. And then it turns out she homeschooled the kids there, and it just I just so fell in love with the family because they were so resourceful. The kids ended up all being brilliant concert pianists, and I mean, it was just was so delightful working with them that yeah, I felt so defensive if anybody criticized anything about that space. Like, oh, it's too small for us. We're a couple. I'd be like, are you kidding me? I've lived here for like 25 years. No, the kids were probably late teens, 18, but they lived there that like that for 18 years. So I would say, I don't think this is small at all. Let me tell you a little about these people. Yeah.
Let me show you the second bedroom. Right.
And it turns out this woman was super religious and she would pray for me. She would pray before the open house. She would pray when, and sure enough, we got like this way over asking offer like a minute before interest rates started climbing, and the price will never be achieved again. But there was some really great relationship that we had, and I had with the family and the property. I wanted to do the best for them. Yeah. So I think
Well, that
that's a good.
that's one of the sad things that I experience. I mean, there's some people fine, we're done. But usually, this kind of this after you've been in touch so much, and especially in the old days when you couldn't do everything remotely or on the computer, you had to actually meet to sign documents. You had
Right.
to go to the property to do things,
Mhm,
show
mhm.
it. Um, instead of just sending people over there,
Right.
you'd spend all this time, and then it would be like this tragic ending. It'd be like, oh, I miss you.
Yeah, right.
I miss you. Um,
Sometimes.
but that's
I'll see you in 5 years when you
right.
sell.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think nobody really wants their realtor hanging around
Yeah, I know.
after.
Yeah. We think we're friends, but we're really not in the end. You might be.
But is it because we were paid?
Well, I mean, I think we were there for a duty, and the duty was complete. And most times, at least with my clients, they may be a little more, mine don't always live in the city full time or have a big social network. Most times they're like, okay, we're done. We're done. We're moving on. Thanks. Bye. But we're
Right.
still, if I run into them in the street, it's a hug. It's how are you? How's your son doing? It's a very personal relationship.
Right.
But, yeah.
I always say, let me come. We did this. I mean, you and I used to throw parties together,
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
and I always liked doing that. But I will always say, hey, look, when you have your housewarming party, let me let me be the bartender. Let me make food. Let me be the hostess, your co-hostess.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And people used to take me up on that, but not so much anymore.
Yeah. 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 I've noticed that too.
Have you ever offered things like I'll help you decorate because you have a design
Uh-huh.
penchant. Has that been value added?
Um, No, because I bypassed on that as a profession, so I never. It's too hard because you have to char. It's a slippery slope. That's not cut and dry enough. But I have helped with staging. I'll add that definitely. Or I help a lot of my absentee sellers pull their property together by getting rid of their furniture. I have an auction house I use, and I'll do a lot. I'll organize painting, I'll hang pictures, I do a lot. So that's the value added there. But um, yeah, not not decorating.
One thing I know about you is your ability to work with whatever's available to make a celebration out of it. Or, like, I would imagine that if you show up at a property and there's something off with the staging, you would figure out how to move some lamps around or, you
Mm.
know, go down to the corner and get some apples and put them in
Oh,
a bowl.
yes, that's my big trick. too much. So sometimes I think, and I'm starting to get not as strong as I was. I used to be able to walk down the street and bring a sofa back that I found on this side of the road. Had a way to get it in there. But now I can't. It's too much. But I still do a lot of that. Yeah, I still do. I remember my a client. I was selling something of his, and he was kind of a bachelor, and he lived with a bachelor, and they smoked and ashtrays everywhere. My topic today, candles, and anyway, I bought the big bag of green apples, and they came home, and they couldn't believe I made their beds and but I had these apples that became sculptural, and they kept saying, I can't believe in those. Every time I talk to him now, he goes, and those apples making such an impact. They were everywhere. Like I've been lying them down tables. And those were the old days. You used to be able to kind of trick people. Now with staging, they expect it to be perfect.
Right. Especially, I've noticed a real uptick in that just in the last 6 to 8 months. It's kind of gone to a whole different level.
Oh, higher level of staging?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, actually, let me put it a different way. It seems like the properties that get the most excitement and
Mhm.
sell more quickly have
Mhm.
high-end staging jobs on them.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just my observation. Like the 20,000 instead of $10,000 for a
Yeah,
two
yeah,
bedroom.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
I have experience right now where I want to do the 10 or 20,000 or the 20 or $30,000 staging. And the client has done this with me before where she thinks she has a hand and she has an eye for it. And one time helped her, she helped me stage this condo. And when I came to see what she had done, she's a 49ers fan. She'd put 49er pennants everywhere and teddy bears of 49ers. And that was, oh God, it was terrible. And I had to tone it way down. And then they're thinking about selling a big house now that wouldn't, and they live in Hawaii. And she said, well, I can come back and help you again. I thought, oh, no, no.
Yeah, my aunt had a Michael Jordan bedroom um,
Oh,
dedicated to Michael Jordan. I
oh,
mean, that's the thing with stage, and we're not here to talk about staging. That we could do that another time. I mean, one idea is to make it not too personal. So, um,
mhm. Yes, right.
while we might be passionate
Uh-huh.
about, you know, Steph Curry, not everybody feels the
Right,
same way.
right, right.
Some people don't even know who Steph Curry is.
Well, I think I said to her, what if they're a competitive team fan? We don't want to discourage those people from buying. They're a Raiders fan.
Right. Yeah. we don't want to we don't want to put them off.
Right.
Um, well, I think that one of the things that uh, makes us really good agents is that we care about our people.
Hmm.
We do about how we provide this service, this great caring, this very intimate interaction, and then we're out of the picture. And then what I thought was it's a little bit like sex work, right? You a really good sex worker um, who
You're
can
done. You get paid and you're done.
right.
No, that was my attraction to this business because I was an interior designer before, and that would never end. They would say, "Oh, we now don't like this," or "We never liked it. Can you come take a look at it and tweak it? Can you help us for our neck?" And it never ends, and I didn't like that part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this has been delightful, and now we're at the point in our episode where I hope you're going to share with me some. It doesn't have to be on topic. Some real estate story that few have heard and many will be interested to know about. Something that happened to you, because something happens every week, But can you think of one that you'd like to relate?
Well, one that always comes to mind, and few have, I mean, many have heard this story, but uh, because it's so amazing in a ridiculous kind of way, is that I I when I moved to outside of the city for about a year or a couple of years, I was missing the city, and so I bought a little studio condo in the city and had both properties for a short amount of time. But I needed to come back to the city, so I moved into a building where I rented for a while, and it was just a couple blocks from this little studio condo, which I had rented it out. That tenant gave me notice and was going to move out, so I decided to put it on the market for sale. So I had it staged very nicely, and the building only had a couple of units, maybe even I was the only one with an outdoor patio. So I said, I'm going to stage it and I'm going to make that outdoor patio look like a room. So I even put a big tent in it and made it look like an outdoor salon. And it was unusual for the building. And I thought that will help sell it. Well, anyway, I got to know a guy in the building who was a mortgage broker, and he was a single man, and he lived on the higher floor. I was on the ground floor. And his place was decorated like a bachelor, single bachelor guy, not very well. And so he knew that my property was on the market for sale. I ran into him. I said, "Oh, let me show it to you." And I was proud. It was very well staged and looked beautiful with this garden I created in the back with the tent and everything. So he takes a look at it and he says, "Wow, it's really nice. I think you'll sell this very fast." So I'm back in my apartment just a couple blocks away. And I said to him, "By the way, you're a mortgage broker. You may know buyers. The door is always unlocked. Just call me before and let me know if you want to show it to someone." So he calls me one night and says, "I have somebody who I think might be interested in this apartment. Is it still open?" And I said, "Yes, go take a look." So a little while later, it was kind of a summer night, long night. I decided to walk back over to lock the door up for the night. And I go to the apartment and the door's locked. Well, I had left it unlocked, as I told you. So I thought that's weird. So I went downstairs to the front desk and got a key for it. I opened it up, and here comes this guy to the door with his pants around his ankles. And he's hopping to the door, kind of not letting me in. And I said, "What's going on?" And I look beyond, and there's a woman in the bed, the staged bed, and beyond that is out in the garden is a nice little picnic that he had prepared.
Oh,
So that
oh,
was so shocking to me that he was not showing the apartment. He was showing, and that's what happened there. He decided, and he said to me, and like, I'm really sorry I blew it, but he said, "My apartment doesn't have the outdoor space and it didn't have much furniture. So I didn't think
oh,
he'd mind
oh,
in the staged bed." Oof.
oh, but that's so sweet in a way.
Well, it was one piece of it. I was like, I kind of get it. I think I even said to him, if you had called and said, "Can I do this?" I wouldn't have said, "Yes, help yourself to the bed." But I might have said, "Sure, why not?
Right. You can have a date there.
Let's get our use out of the staging that's so expensive." And sure, why not? And maybe she'll tell people about it. But instead, it didn't end very well. And he was hopping around, pulling his pants on, and it was awful.
Oh, oh, the loss of dignity. I can feel it. I don't know.
Yes.
There was something like that happened. I remember to a big dog agent in the city whose assistant used a listing for an assignation with somebody. And she and her paramour spent the night, and
Oh,
the owner came home
oh gosh.
and found
Oh,
them in flagrante. Is that how you say it?
oh, I don't
And that was
know.
the end of her career as a real
Oh,
estate assistant. Yeah.
well, remember that old story that woman, that realtor, had moved into her client's vacant listing and they lived elsewhere, but they were in town for the weekend and they drove by their property and saw her in the window in her robe.
Oh no.
And she was fired and lost her license, I think.
Oh, that's sad. Oh
Yeah.
well. Well, you know that those things don't happen very rarely, right? You know that that doesn't happen. I just want to be really clear about it.
It's true. It's true. It doesn't happen, no.
Only these three times that we know of.
No, and that was my listing, my property. So at least it wasn't my clients that I said, "Oh, sure, the door's open."
Right.
No,
Right.
I've done that.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
there are places where you can leave the door open, and there's places where you can't leave the door open.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So
Right, right.
anyway, I love it. So thanks for that. Thanks for chatting, and tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you if they want to find Janet
Oh,
Krahling in San Francisco.
Compass is my company name, and my website is elevatinglifestylessf.com. And that just gives you pretty much everything you need on that website, all of my contact information.
Elevating Lifestyles SF, as in
Dot
San
com.
Francisco.com.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
love it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. That was fun.
Thank you.